Hello, everybody. My name is Rufus Thibodeaux, and welcome to another episode of Promise and Purpose, where we talk about the transformative power of God's Word and how that links to us discovering our purpose and unlocking our untapped potential. And today I'm here with Pastor Victor Martinez, and we're going to continue our conversation about how aligning yourself with the promises of God leads to a deeper understanding of your purpose and the potential that lies within you. And also, he has a special surprise. He's got a pretty cool event that you're not going to want to miss out on that we're going to have him talk about. So, Pastor, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Rufus. Appreciate to be here.
Yeah, no problem at all. So let's dive right in. Why don't you start by maybe just introducing yourself and tell a little bit about your background and the work that you do.
I pastor in North Minneapolis. My wife and I planted a church about 12 years ago. I've been very heavily involved in the community, ran for office a couple of times,
Wow.
and do a lot of work in our church in the community around men and God transforming the life of men and marriages.
Okay.
Marriages sometimes don't work very well when the men are being jerks, right? So we got to
All
help
right.
the men be good men, godly
That's
men. So women or the wives would want to be able to serve together better. And so I think that's super important. And so the last couple of years, I've been focusing on that and just been involved. Got three kids.
nice.
My oldest daughter, Priscilla, she's 12. My youngest daughter, Victoria, she's 9.
Okay.
And my son is Valentin, he's 8. And my wife, Daisy Martinez, happily married. The first few years was still very difficult, but I was that jerk, right? That I wasn't that guy that she wanted to submit to in any way, shape, or form. And so,
Yeah.
but we love each other very much. We have an awesome marriage and growing church, and excited to be here.
Thank you. Hey, well, man, so how long have you been married?
13 years.
13, did you say? 13?
Yeah, this May will be 13.
Nice.
Hmm.
Okay. So small kids. Yeah, that's serious. My wife and I have been married for 34 years. And
Nice.
I have all my kids are older. Youngest, so I got four kids. Youngest is 22 all the way up to 35. So we got they're
Wow.
all over the board. But I know exactly what
Great
you're talking about.
legacy.
So you help men to stop being jerks. So how often do you find that the woman is the issue? Do women ever do anything wrong? Wives don't do anything wrong, right?
You know, man, I mean, if we take a biblical perspective,
Yeah.
the burden falls first on us, and when men refuse that burden or refuse that responsibility, kind of gets tossed down to them, the wife and the woman, and then sometimes the woman doesn't want it, and it gets tossed down to the children, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of a bad spiral going down.
Yeah. Yeah. Your marriage is serious, man. It's a serious deal. And I don't know if people take it as seriously as they probably should. And I mean, we get training and everything else. In fact, I just joined a health club. I'm trying to lose my stomach, get the six pack going. But
Oh,
you're trained there, and that's yeah, I got my work cut out for me. But you get trained there, but a lot of people don't take the time to get trained in becoming a better husband, or a better wife.
absolutely.
And so
We
so then
invest
it's
we invest in everything, right? We invest in
yeah,
cars, house, business, but we don't invest into our marriage. So
yeah,
I think that's
that's
the most
important.
important part.
Yeah, so that's good that you're doing that. And it's funny, one other thing I'll mention about that, my parents, so my dad died about 8 years ago, and my
Mm,
parents would have been married 49 years. And
wow.
they got married when they're 15 and 16 years old. And one of the things that they
Wow.
did is they compared years of marriage to years of life. So in other words, if you've been married 3 years, you're a 3-year old. If you're married 18 years, you're 18-year-old. So it's kind of funny to think
Wow.
about that. Like, okay, hey, well, like you're 13. I mean, so yeah, so you think about what a 13-year-old does, think about what maybe a 30-year person does. Also, if somebody's been married 3 years and they're trying to give a 30-year-old advice, it's like, hey, what are you talking about? What do you know about that? So it's kind of funny. But anyway, so
That
let's
makes
I'd love
sense.
to hear more about your personal journey, Pastor. So why don't you I, I'd like to know, how have you personally dealt with feelings of, like unfulfillment or disconnection from your potential, and what did you do to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think for me, it started really early on when I got married. I was a youth pastor, okay, for about
Hmm,
10 years. My wife was my assistant youth pastor,
nice.
and yeah, and the second day we were married, we got in an argument, and I
Okay.
didn't understand. My wife wanted to divorce me on the second day. I'm like, I thought she was kidding. And and I kept ignoring it for 6 months. He kept threatening me about leaving me, and it finally I got fed up,
Yeah.
and I felt like I was a failure. I
Mm,
used to judge other men like, oh, you got divorced or you failed, and and I'm like, no, that's not gonna be me. But then when it started looking like it was gonna be me, I was like, wow, I'm a
mm,
failure too.
mm.
Wow, I'm that guy I was just criticizing. Wow, this sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I saw that early on, and then what I began to do is I began to look for mentors, began to look
Mm.
for people in my life that would speak into my life, people, men that had marriages that I wanted,
Okay.
relationships that their relationship was something I wanted to mimic in their marriages and their business life, and just figuring out all these things. So I would go to my mentors and just ask, how you do this, how you do that, what do you do with this, what do you do with that, and even getting counseling. My wife was very anti-counseling. She thought it was
Mm.
only for messed up people or something like that. And I finally put my foot down. His marriage wasn't working, and I was like, okay, I pulled out all the stops and said, you don't come home, you go to your appointment, or else you don't come in these doors. And very few times where I put my foot down and I told
Wow.
her she can't come into the house unless you go to your appointment. And she went, and it went well. And then we went together, and it helped us in an area of our marriage that we really need to help at that time. So really looking for those that have the fruit on the tree, looking for those that have the kind of life that I want, is what I began to do, and has really blessed me long term.
Yeah, well, good for you for doing that. I mean, a lot of people don't. I mean, just like we're talking about with marriage, you think, "Hey, I'm married. Why do I need to go to learn about marriage? I'm already married." Well, no, that's why you need to learn about marriage, right? So good
That's
for you
right.
for doing that. So, and maybe this may tie into that a little bit, or it may shift a little bit, but can you share a specific instance where you struggled to sort of apply a biblical principle to your everyday life? And maybe it was marriage, maybe it was something else, but can you share or think of a specific instance where
Yeah,
that happened?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right before I got married, I got married when I was 26. And since I was 19 years old, I made $40,000 a year. Okay, I made good money.
Yeah.
I had a two-bedroom apartment. I had two roommates. I mean, I had everything set, but my financial giving, the biblical principle of sowing and reaping, tithing,
Mm,
whatever you want to call it, but giving generously to the ministry, to the church, for it to do its work.
yeah.
And I never did it. I struggled. I would be good for a week or a month, and then I would fall off. And right before I got married, I was like, God, I got to fix this, because I was making $41,000 a year since I was 19. But every month I was broke. Every single month I was
Mm,
broke. I had a broken down car. I was homeless for about a month in that time period. I didn't have a stable place to live. And I'm like, oh, God, no, I got to fix this. God, I got to fix it before I get married. If I can't even handle my finances now, imagine when I get married, it's going to be worse.
yeah.
And about 8 months leading up to the marriage, I began to give financially to the church on a regular basis, and just giving and giving. And then when we got married, well, guess what? Our finances came together, but
Mm,
we got pregnant right away.
okay.
And my wife couldn't work for a season, with the baby coming. And, within a year of getting married, right? So 6 months, 8 months before I got married, I began to tithe and just trust the Lord with my finances and give and give. And within the next year, once I got married, God gave me a amazing wife,
Mm,
beautiful, healthy daughter, and a almost a brand new house that by myself I could support all of that by myself
mm,
for the next year or so. And so it's like, wow, how did I go from a single guy making that money, couldn't even take care of myself, to now taking care of a spouse, child, and a mortgage, and I was able to do it. I was like, God, that's something God was doing. And so that's a huge testimony for me that I still remember to this day, only about 13 years ago that took place.
yeah, that's amazing. You know, it's kind of like working out. Sometimes applying biblical principles is like working out. I was kind of jokingly serious about trying to get rid of my stomach, but I know there's going to be some work involved in that. But this is like applying biblical principles. It requires some work. And even I remember Paul told Timothy, to practice the word and to train in godliness. I mean, so it's like it
Mhm.
requires work and effort, but it's all, but obviously it's totally worth it. But
Yeah,
um
and faith. I would say faith, tons of faith,
yeah,
because just like an athlete goes to work out, says, hey, they trust the process.
yeah,
Well, guess what? God has the same thing. He has a process. Trust the process. Have faith that it's going to work, and practice it.
yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this, man. What role has community played in your journey? I mean, your spiritual journey. I mean, I like and how do you actively engage with fellow believers to sort of,
Mm.
to deepen your connection with God and other people?
Well, so growing up, my mom was a single mom. We
Mm.
moved every year of our life, okay, until I bought my
Wow.
first house when I got married. All right,
Okay.
literally every year of my life. So I never really was able to form community, right?
Mm.
Because 8 months later, I was somewhere. I'd be moving again,
Yeah.
and so, but when I bought a house, I made my decisions. You know what? I'm going to stay,
Mm.
and I'm going to get to know my neighbors. I'm going to get to know my. And so what I did when I bought my house, that 13 years ago now. I became the block leader.
Mm.
Began to organize my block and have monthly or quarterly meetings on my block. Yeah, not everybody shows up, but you get a handful
Yeah.
that show up,
Sure.
and you begin to care for them, help them out with issues that they have. If I don't know the answer, I'll find the answer.
Yeah.
And so I'll help my community and build relationships and build trust in my community. People that were different from me, practice maybe a different religion than me,
Sure.
or lifestyles that weren't in agreement with my lifestyle. And so, and then just a couple of years ago, I decided to run for office here in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, in the city of Minneapolis. And then I ran again. I lost by about 130 votes. I ran again, lost by 130 votes again. So I was like, oh God, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
And so I got to know all the pastors, all the leaders. I knocked every door, maybe in a total of like 5, 6 times.
Wow.
People me in the area, and I had to have a pastor's heart for everybody. Different
Yeah.
races, religions, everybody.
Yeah.
And so just being able to build that relationship and build that and have that credibility. Say, hey, I'm a minister. I'm going to practice honesty and just being straightforward. I'm not a politician because I think we need something different in our city. But yeah, building those relationships, even on my block, I have a single older lady that needs help every now and then fixing something.
Yeah.
I'm not a fixer, but I guess she has nobody else in her circle to come, and
Sure.
so she always, can you come, and I'll go over there. But it's like building that relationship, I believe we need to be intentional.
Yeah.
I don't believe we could be a Christian and not be part of the community. You become
Yeah.
these isolated Christians that are in their own little shell or world. You're not. God's going to ask you. You are a man on a tower. You are
Mm.
a watchman, and then your neighbors next door don't even know about Jesus, or you don't even go say hi to them. I had a church bus in the back of my house, so they knew I was a pastor, and I had church stuff, and so I had to be more intentional
Yeah.
about meeting neighbors and loving my neighbors. And I think that all of us as Christians, we need to be community orientated. We can't just be my world and be selfish and only my people. It becomes a social club.
Yeah. Yeah. Based on what you've been saying here, and even in our conversation, the phone call the other day, it seems that I mean, you've traveled down a specific path. You knew what you wanted to do pretty early on, but how did you discover your sense of purpose?
Actually, I didn't know what I wanted to do
You
early
didn't.
on.
Okay.
Okay, so I was 13 years old. I came to Jesus.
Yeah.
I just the church. We went to church because the church would give us free stuff. Okay, we were poor. We didn't have
Okay.
nothing. We just went to churches. I just kind of wherever the door opened, I just walked
Okay.
through it.
Nice.
And the church was one of that. And being in the church the youth group, I was socially dysfunctional,
Hmm.
and the church youth group would be kind of my place away from home,
Yeah.
and got to know the Lord there. There was a need for leadership. I said, okay, I'll help, and it was all just the Lord opening doors, and I just
Hmm.
walked through them. Became a youth leader, became a youth pastor, began to serve. Um, when I bought my house, I always knew I wanted to be part of the community. So I just got to know my neighbors and was a good guy. Hey, go
Sure.
figure,
Sure.
maybe cut your neighbor's grass.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
bought my house, I didn't have a lawnmower. My neighbors cut my grass the second day. I felt ashamed. Like, why are they cutting my grass? They must be thinking I'm
Hmm.
lazy or whatever. But I wanted to go outside. Hey, you don't have to cut it. No, it's okay. We want to welcome you to the neighborhood. I'm like, wow, that's an example. And so I just began to do it.
Hmm.
Just I don't think God's complicated. I
Yeah.
think that God is pretty simple. And if you don't have a heart like that to see that, just ask God, God give me a heart. But I just kind of naturally saw it and stepped into it. And I believe it's like a puzzle. God wired us a certain way. God designed us a certain way. He put our feelings and desires. And so
Yeah.
he's going to guide us that way, right? He's not an evil God where he's like, oh, go figure out yourself, little rascal. No. And
Yeah.
so I think that God just opens those doors as you find out your gifts, your talents, your abilities, and as you grow a heart for people. If you love God, you got to love people. If
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
people, you don't love God. And so it all works together and takes you down a path.
Okay, so let's say you got somebody out there that is looking to, I mean, they're still struggling with that. I mean, what God has for them, and and they're looking for a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in their life. And what advice would you give to them?
I'm at a point in my life where I'm tough love. You're hard headed. There's
Okay.
people. This is what I tell my young people at our church. Okay, I say,
Okay.
find somebody to speak into your life.
Okay.
Find somebody. 5 years later, hey, did you find somebody? No, I can't find somebody. Liar.
Hmm.
You either A, don't value the opinions of others, don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
or B, you're lazy, right? You don't do it. And so that's really there is no excuse. I love the movie The Pursuit of Happiness,
Yeah.
right? Remember when he went to the guy with the red car, he's like, "God, two questions." He said, two questions. You remember that? He said, "What do
Yeah.
you do and
Yeah.
how do
Right.
That's it. What do you do and how do you do it? It's so simple. If you want a better marriage, if you want to care for your go look for someone that has it. Now, of course, not everybody you're going to go ask for help is going to speak into your life or be open, but
Yeah. Yeah.
sooner or later find somebody.
Yeah.
Just keep looking. The Bible says that seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be open, right? Like asking you shall receive. I mean,
Sure.
it's a biblical principle. It's pretty straightforward. I think, every 5-year-old will get it. So in my experience, every person I've told, look for a mentor, look for somebody. 95%, if not 99, do not do it.
I believe that.
And that's it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I believe you talk about knocking and the doors open and seeking you find it. I believe, just like you said, that the finding is only for the seekers. You know what I mean? The opening door is only for the knockers because it's not going to open up if you're not doing anything about it. So yeah, I like that. So let me ask this, man. Pastor, have you ever had times where you felt sort of spiritually stagnated? Um, and if you have, what did you do? What did you find? How did you navigate through those challenges to really deepen your relationship with God again?
Oh man, I think all of us as we walk with the Lord, we
Yeah,
all face those patches, right? We all
makes
get to
sense.
those patches. And same with me, like there's times where like why aren't things happening the way
Yeah,
I wanted them to happen? When I ran for office, I mean, I did something amazing. Nobody knew me, nobody believed in me. Being a pastor, conservative pastor in one of the most progressive cities in America, running for office, nobody gave me a shot. And when I got that close, like that close to do something historical,
yeah, yeah,
uh, everything I knew and heard, I thought it was going to happen, and it didn't. And it put me in a real dry place for, like, cause when you run profit, you don't make no money unless you win. Okay.
yeah.
You
Right.
invest a lot of time and energy, you put your family in the back burner, for months. And so, and you're planning for this one thing and it doesn't happen,
Yeah,
and it hurts and it's frustrating. It's confusing. It's not, and you're in this bad place. And the reality is that you need to find people that can speak into your life. Even
yeah,
if I had those people, and I was so mad when I go meet with them, and I would just get upset and say this doesn't make sense and why that, and all they would do sometimes is just like this too. I know, I know, and just hearing that after 3 4 months of detoxing,
yeah,
letting it heal, because heal time is the best healer.
yeah,
You gotta allow time to heal you, and God healing, and I kept listening to people. I was still mad, but I kept listening to people, but I let God heal me. It's a process. You
yeah,
can't hurry it. I mean, you get all the prophets in the Bible, Elijah, running away, eat, drink, like the journey is long. And
yeah.
so life is long. I'm 38 years old and I think I'm behind, and
Mm,
so sometimes youth drives you to think that things are have to happen right now. And so I'm learning from folks that are down the road, someone like you that's down the road, raise a family, like, hey, how
yeah,
can I learn from you how you did what you did, or how did I learn from your mistakes, or maybe you can help me get to where you're at faster, blah blah blah,
yes,
right? You gotta
yeah,
look for those
sure,
people. And
sure.
so that's what really helped me when I get in those stagnant places.
Yeah, that's good, man. What I love about what you're saying is that you first of all, you understand that you got to take some action, and you're learning from other people. I mean, it's like a wealth of information all around you. And it's funny, like you said, that I think that the most val I mean, I think you can learn more from failure than success. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's yeah, I can certainly teach people a lot about how to what not to do. So that's
Fail
cool.
fast.
Fail fast, fail fast. So let's talk about self-image, Pastor. Self-image obviously is important. I mean, you know, maybe failed. I guess in my experience, people have different opinions about failure. You either fail, you know, either win or you learn. I get that. You know, you ran for office. What office did you run for, by the way?
City Council,
City
Ward
council.
5.
Okay. So you did that twice. It didn't work out. You know, a lot of lessons you learned, but you still have to know who you are, have a positive image of who you are. So what strategies and what, you know, what tools, practical tools do you use to cultivate a positive self-image? And then
Mm.
what would you recommend to other people in terms of that as
Mm.
well?
I'd say books. Books were
Yeah.
one of the best tools I've ever had.
Okay.
I mean, before I ran for office, I read the books of the last 30 years
Hmm.
political leaders in our country, both
Okay.
from the left and to learn from them.
Yeah.
When I was younger and very ignorant, didn't know anything about life, I would read, books like um, uh, I would there's Think and Grow Rich. I don't know,
Yeah.
it's very book.
Yeah. Yeah.
The talking about purpose. I would think Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Books that weren't necessarily like Christian books, but they had
Sure.
kind of biblical values and principles. But yeah, I mean, I went from going online, I'm sorry, having paper books because my library got so big,
Oh,
it was
totally.
just too much, to going out to audiobooks. And so here's the last 3 or 4 years, the last books I have read in the last 3, 4 years.
Nice. How many are on there? I'm on Audible too.
I lost count.
Yeah.
And these are from like when I moved over from my paper
Yeah.
version stuff to online. I probably have, I don't know, last 3 years, I probably have 30, 40 books.
So what would you say are the top three books that you'd recommend to people?
Man, I would say depending on where they're at in life,
Yeah, okay.
right? It depends on like where you're at. Are you a new father? Are you someone struggling in your finances? Are you someone that doesn't know where they're going in life? Are you someone that's away from Jesus? Are you someone that's new to the faith? Are you a mature Christian? So it really all depends. But I would say some of the for Christians, there's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins,
Yeah,
about how to be from a good Christian to be a great Christian. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's pretty cool. There's another one here. I would say that it's kind of one of my top ones. Um, Think and Grow Rich. My wife is just reading it for the first time. It's a little bit deeper,
yeah,
and you gotta read between the lines. My wife is just reading it for the first time, and it's really impacting her. Here's the other one, and I know some people make fun of this one, but I for a dysfunctional child that
yeah,
didn't know any better, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
yes,
I think that was really helpful when I was a teenager.
yeah.
And so,
I love that. You know, all the books you read that you talked about, I love those. And it's funny, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think is one of the greatest sales books of all time because you know, you have to understand people in order because you can't make people do anything. All you can do is find out how they function and kind of what they want, and then show them how what you offer can get them what they want. And that's what
yeah.
that, you know, that's what that how to win
That's what
friends
we
and
all
influence.
do. I mean,
That's
that's
what
what
we
we all
all
do, right?
do.
We,
That's
we
what
got to
we all
sell
do.
ourselves to our future wife. We're dating her. Why should she choose us? You
That's
know what I mean? Like,
right. That's
and
right.
so everything we do, we're selling ourselves. And
Well,
and so my mentor told me this. He said, Victor, the biggest promoters have the biggest businesses. The
mm,
biggest promoters have the biggest organizations. If
yeah.
you learn to promote, you learn how to sell to people, right? Yourself, whatever it is, you're going to have the bigger whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I think based on our conversation so far, I think I might know the answer to this question, but if we're talking about self-doubt, doubt and uncertainty, okay, what would you recommend? How would you recommend that an individual navigate periods of doubt and uncertainty in their faith? And you know, what practices have you found particularly helpful? I know you've already
Yeah.
talked about, you know, talking with other people. That may be one of the top ones, but what other kinds of things have you found helpful in regards to that?
I think keeping a humble heart and just
Hmm.
being able to listen,
Okay.
those are important. I mean, it happens to everybody. And
Yeah.
so you have to have a humble heart and be willing to listen. As long as you have those two things, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And you know, like you said, God is simple. You're giving simple answers, but those are profound. If you go out and find somebody that is, you know, at a place where you're trying to get to and just let them speak into your life, how much are you going to learn, you know? And how much are you going to learn by just talking? I mean, by just listening to people. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
we talk way more than we listen. And so I think that's cool. So I really enjoyed my time with you here, Pastor. And but before we wrap up, I got one more question for you. One more question. I want to know um, what your favorite Bible verse is. So the verse that, and it could be more than one, but the one that really has been instrumental in really shaping your journey, empowering you to overcome challenges, helping you to, to become the man that you are today. What would those verses be? What would that be?
Yeah, Romans chapter 12, verse 2,
Mm,
one or two or three. I mean, I like them all, but
yeah,
it says, I beg you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies in living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what is a good, acceptable, and perfect will of God.
love it, love it, love it. Um, so So, last but not least, why don't you talk a little bit about the hat that you're wearing there and the event that's coming up?
Yeah, so there's a men's group movement that it's in Minnesota called Legendarios, Legendaries. It's a
Mm,
men camping experience. We go up north to do primitive camping, and it's an experience that you could go and have with God out there. And it's one of the most powerful, if not the number one, movement for men in the country or in the world. And we're going June 6th to the 9th. Over 100 men are going up north to
mm.
the wilderness. There's no internet, there ain't no safety vehicles out there. If the bear eats your leg off, we got to carry you out. You know what I mean? Like that kind of situation. No, we're safe. There's no bears. No, it was just a joke. But I'm inviting men that are watching here. It's June 6th to the 9th.
Yeah,
It's coming up on the website. You can get more information on Legendarios mn.com. I think it's .com.
yeah,
Legendariosmn.com. And you can get more information, or you can call me 612-202-7168. 612-202-7168. Give me a call if you're interested. It's for 14 and older. It's a $350 cost, but it covers all food, transportation, activities, everything. All you got to do is bring your backpack and stuff, and we head out there. And so I'm encouraging men out there that you feel maybe stagnant, or you want to see what God's going to do with you in the next level. You gotta be there, or be squared.
love it, love it. And maybe you can also send me a link to the website, whatever, and I can put it in the descriptions of the video here. So,
We want you there, bro. We got to figure out how to get you there too, bro.
okay,
It's gonna be
well,
awesome.
yeah, we need to try to figure it out. Like I said, we've got a couple different things going on, but of course, the words primitive and bears, that does alarm me a little bit. But hey, and like you
Hey,
said, I'm
when you're
sitting.
100 men though, you're 100
Okay,
men against one bear, you win. Okay, we
you
win.
went.
We're good.
Okay, you're selling me on it. That's the how to win friends, influence people. You're putting it on me. I love it. So, Pastor, thank you, man. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned a lot, and it's been, super valuable. But I don't want this to be the last time that we connect. So, would you be open to connecting some other times? I'd love to learn how we could,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, how we
Yeah,
continue
I
to
love
add
what you're
value.
doing, and
Yeah,
I believe that we got to be strategic. I'm a huge collaborator. I
yeah,
believe the body of Christ needs to collaborate. If you don't collaborate, you die.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess if I come to the event, do you get the cool hat and shirt? Okay, that all comes with it.
Yeah, if you get through the event, you get it. You don't quit. And what's funny, the biggest quitter are the more for lack of better words, the more religious people for some reason.
Wow. Yeah,
It tends to be pastors and leaders like, I don't know, and so it's really weird. It's like it's a humbling moment,
yeah,
right? That's why I said you got to be humble. And
yeah,
and sometimes as leaders and pastors and ministers of God, sometimes we're not humble anymore,
yeah.
and we limit what God could do in us because of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree 100%. Well, thanks again, Pastor, for joining me. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Okay, take care.
All right. God bless you,
Okay,
brother.
you
Bye bye.
too. Bye now.